AITA for not allowing some of my employees to say grace at our holiday party? I, 48M, own my own business and have about 50 employees that work for me. I like to think I am a pretty open and accommodating employer and try to be respectful of all of my employees and their lives. Every year my wife and I host a holiday party that includes a catered meal and dessert. From the very beginning, it has always been presented as a holiday party that doesn't favor one culture or specific holiday over another, since we've always had employees from various cultures and religions, and most have a major holiday in either December or January. It's meant to just be a celebration with everyone to have a good time at the end of the year. We held our holiday party this weekend, and after announcing that dinner was going to be served in a few minutes and for everyone to make their way to the tables, one of our new employees and some of our older employees came to ask us if I would say grace or would let one of them say grace before the meal. I was pretty surprised at this request, especially coming from employees that have been with us for years and they know we have never had a prayer before eating in the past, so I wasn't sure why they would suddenly ask now. I told them no, and some of them said it was important to them and their families to always say grace before a meal. I asked what spurred this sudden request, and they told me they had been talking about how they found it weird that my wife and I go to church but have never said grace at these parties or any of our potlucks. I told them that is because our private life is our private life and does not belong mixing with our professional life, and that they were free to hold a prayer circle outside of the dining room with their families or do it quietly at the tables by themselves. I thought that was the end of that, but when I arrived at work this morning, all 5 that asked on Saturday handed in their 2-week notice, citing that they didn't feel comfortable working for me anymore. One of them has worked for me for the last 9 years. I understand it may not have been what they wanted to hear, but I was trying to look out for all of the employees. My wife is trying to get them to stay on board. AITA for not letting them say grace aloud with everyone at dinner? NTA. They could have had a quiet moment of prayer on their own. If you had suddenly sprung a public prayer on the entire group, there's a good chance that you would have offended or alienated others in the room. It sucks to have them all put in their notice over this. But you can find other workers. Their religious preferences do not supersede other people's, and quitting a job over this is ridiculous. NTA. You may never find this out directly from them, but your non-Christian employees appreciate this stance more than you realize. Even as an adult, there is immense pressure to participate in Christian rituals at school and work. Usually people can accept if someone follows another Western religion, though not always. But people tend to get offended if you tell them you're an atheist. So it's often easier to just go along. But it's very uncomfortable. NTA. This is a work environment and you gave them the option of praying amongst themselves and they turned that down. Oddly. So what exactly was their issue? You accommodated their request while still being respecting of your other employees. NTA. I am a Christian, but this is uncool. Prayer doesn't need to be showy. They can pray silently to themselves before they eat, or they can pray outside the meal like you suggested. Blessing the food before eating would not be inclusive. You're a good boss in this regard, sir. NTA. Not everyone is Christian, or a believer in anything at all. You absolutely did the right thing. I know several people who are deeply religious and always say a prayer before a meal. But when they're dining with people who do not share their faith, they either say the prayer silently or slip off quickly before the meal. That is how you do it. It feels largely very performative. And I can't help but wonder if that new employee is the instigator. It's regrettable that they've all decided to make themselves unemployed over this. But ultimately it's their decision to make. Caving in and admitting wrongdoing to try to get them to stay would set a number of unfortunate precedents for your other employees moving forward. Resist this urge. NTA. People can say a prayer privately before eating. No need to involve anybody. NTA. It's really awkward for the non-Christian coworkers when someone tries to inject a very Christian grace at public events. Privately. Sure, go for it. But you are right. In the professional setting it's better to be religion neutral. NTA. It's unusual they have all handed their notice in. I wonder if someone has been stirring the pot. You weren't rude and you had no issues in them saying their own private grace. The thing is that by insisting they say grace that it might upset others who don't want to say grace. So it was lose-lose for them. And you. Perhaps it's best that you let them go and wish them the best in the future. You're allowed to have your religious convictions, but it's not considered great to foist them on everyone else. And that applies to all religions. They probably can't see the irony if someone from another culture wanted to do something religious and insisted that everyone else do the same in the workplace when they will see it as wrong and against their religion. You can't argue with that as it's irrational thoughts. NTA. Work isn't the place for enforced religious observance. You likely have employees who are not Christian and would likely feel uncomfortable being compelled to say grace. You made a reasonable suggestion that your Christian employees do their own prayer circle or do it quietly at the table privately. Your employees are being unreasonable. And I wonder if they've gone down some YouTube rabbit hole of sorts. NTA. It was a power move on their part. Everybody knows both religion and politics are a no-go at a work. People can have their religious freedom, but it shouldn't be imposed on anyone else. You clearly offered an alternative and they choose to make an issue. As a Christian who prays before meals. NTA. This is a strange request to bring to a workplace dinner. I would never expect to go to a meal and tell the host to say grace. That's the host's personal choice. I would say my silent prayer myself, because it's important to me. But I know it isn't important to others. Absolutely NTA. You said they were more than welcome to say grace privately and gave them options, but they declined and chose to quit since they weren't allowed to force their beliefs and practices on everyone. Good riddance. NTA. I'm a religious person. An extremely religious person by Reddit standards. And unless you work for a church or another religious organization, public grace at a business event is out of place. Even one person who feels uncomfortable or alienated is one person too many. Your compromise was tactful and appropriate. NTA. You were so mindful of your other employees and their families there who may not practice the same faith as the smaller group of employees. It's not that you didn't want them to say grace in your home. You just didn't wanna force it down everyone's throat. You offered alternatives like doing it in another room or quietly at the table, and the fact that those options weren't good enough may mean that they felt that everyone in the room needed to witness their faith at the holiday party. To me, if it were about saying grace and giving thanks, wouldn't doing it in another room be a good enough option? NTA. Thank you for being respectful of others. Not everyone is the praying type, and that's perfectly okay. Not everyone has the same beliefs, and that is okay also. What is not okay is forcing their own beliefs on everyone and then decide to quit because you told them no, we are going to respect everyone and make this event comfortable for anyone. Let them quit. Yes, it will suck because you have to hire and train new employees. Because people you thought were loyal aren't. Because no matter what you lose as a business owner. But showing your remaining 45 employees that you respect them enough to not force others' thoughts and beliefs on them at a company event is going to mean a lot. Also, I would put up a very professional memo about how this is a tolerant workplace, and that means company events, whether mandatory training, optional team building, or any type of get-together, celebration, end-of-year events will not be religious events. That individual or groups of employees are free to break from the larger group if needed to maintain their own religious beliefs during the event, but that you would not be forcing or asking anyone to do anything such as practicing a religion. That you realize you may lose a small group of good employees, but the company being respectful of each individual employee is more important, and you are committed to having that respect for all. I don't know if I am making sense. Sorry. NTA, I feel like if you've given them the option to say is in silence and they refused, you've done your part. How would they feel if someone from another religion would pray aloud in front of everyone in that holiday party? NTA. They can pray in private, but they don't have the right to push that on others anywhere. Especially not a work function. NTA at all, and you did the correct thing. Reach out to a lawyer for advice on the situation. I suspect there may be ulterior motives here. I'm not sure where you live, but I'm in the US, and you don't just leave a job like that. Be on the safe side and protect yourself. NTA. They were welcome to say grace privately. You did the right thing by not forcing their religion and traditions on everyone else. If you had made everyone participate, you likely would have had a stack of resignation letters from others who felt uncomfortable being forced to pray at a work social event. Definitely NTA. You gave them other options to fulfill their request. Did any of them stop to think if their prayer would have offended others at the table? Because I doubt it.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.